What's up, family? It's your favorite cousin Backpack, and I'm back with another In My Bag book review. And today, the book that I have for you is New York Times bestseller, Atomic Habits by James Clear. What if the reason that you're not achieving your goals isn't because you lack motivation, but it's because your habits are working against you? Every day you're either winning or you're losing because of small invisible choices that you make every single day. Hitting the snooze button instead of rising early, scrolling instead of studying, talking about change instead of becoming the change. Atomic Habits shows you how to turn tiny actions into unstoppable momentum. It gives you a system, not just motivation. You'll learn how to make progress with automatic systems instead of relying on willpower. It proves that small changes compound. You'll see how 1% improvements can turn into daily transformation for your life. It helps you to build identity-based habits. You stop chasing goals and start becoming the kind of person who naturally succeeds. This book is filled with 20 chapters, 253 reading pages. After that, there's the appendix. But I want to go ahead and dive straight into this. This is my top 2 favorite book of all time. There is not a book. I've read this book twice already. I've listened to it 3 times already. This book will 100% change your life, how you operate, how you see and help you determine how you see yourself, because how you see yourself matters. All right, so let's get into these chapters, man. Chapter number 1. Chapter number 1 is about the surprising power of atomic habits. Tiny habits are like compound interest for self-improvement. Success is a product of daily habits, not the once-in-a-lifetime transformations. All right, so in chapter number 1, he talks about the aggregation of marginal gains, philosophy for searching for tiny marginal gains of improvement. All right, he has a nice little diagram, and he talks about the results on the y-axis. I still remember this, and the time on the x-axis. And what you'll see is that over time, with gradual small 1% changes, you'll start to see immense change in your life. Okay. There's also a myth buster in this book that I really love, where they talk about we've all heard the saying, it takes 21 days to build a habit. No, it doesn't. We've been lied to. We've been duped, bamboozled, swindled for many, many years. It takes far more than 21 days to build a successful habit. In fact, I think studies have shown that in order to build a successful habit, it's not about, it is about the days, but it's also about the amount of time you actually spend practicing in that habit. All right. So chapter number 1 is simply going to give you a brief overview of how 1% changes can actually cause your life to be 100% better. That's not what he said in the book, but that's something that I came up with. And chapter number 2 is how your habits shape your identity. Now, in this, he gave a very powerful analogy. He said, imagine 2 people are trying to quit smoking. One guy is offered a cigarette. He says, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. Another guy is offered a cigarette and he says, no thanks, I'm not a smoker. Which one of those people are more likely to quit smoking? It's the second person, the guy who says, I'm not a smoker, because he changed his identity. The first guy, he said he still identifies as a smoker, but he identifies it as something that he's trying to quit, or I'm attempting to stop, right? And I have a 14-year-old and I have a 2-year-old, and you'd be surprised who cleans more. It's my 2-year-old. Why? Because my 2-year-old has grown up in an environment where his identity is he's a clean person, because that's what he sees his mom and his dad do all the time. Anytime we spill something, we clean it up right away. When I cut my son's hair about 2 weeks ago, and the moment we were done I was done cutting his hair, he immediately saw all of the hair on the floor and went to go get a vacuum and starts vacuuming up his hair at 2 years old. Last week, I braided my daughter's hair. After I got finished braiding my daughter's hair, you know what she did? She went straight downstairs and started watching TV. And I had to tell her, hey, I need you to come over here and clean up this hair. What's going on, man? Put this stuff up. See, there's a difference. My daughter didn't come from an environment where my daughter's identity wasn't, this is who you are and this is how we act and how we behave. It doesn't matter about your age. What your identity is often produces the results of who you are. Most people focus on goals and not systems. So one of the things that he said was, don't just set goals, also set systems to make sure that those goals are accomplished, because habits come from your identity and identity reinforces habits. Key takeaways in chapter number 2 is, don't ask, what do I want to achieve? Ask, who do I want to become, or who do I need to become in order to make this happen? All right. So you want more money, but you don't identify as but you identify yourself as someone who consumes rather than someone who creates money and creates financial opportunity. Okay. If you continue to identify yourself as a consumer, you'll continue to spend. All right. So improvements are temporary until they become a part of who you are. Until these things become a part of who you are, until going to the gym becomes a part of who you are. So there's another story that he gave, and he says a lady, she was trying to lose weight, and she started to ask herself, what would a fit and healthy person do? And so that became her idea when it came to making any decisions about her health, about taking the elevator versus taking the steps, about choosing what type of food she wanted to eat. What type of food would a healthy person choose instead of the person that she is right now? Changing your identity comes first, and it becomes the prerequisite to actually achieving the things that you would like to become. He also has this image of like a circle, and so it's actually a target. On the outside of this circle is the outcomes, changing results. In the middle is the process, changing systems. In the middle, in the core is changing beliefs. A lot of times what we try to do is we try to change from the outside in, and what we need to do is we need to change from the inside out. So we need to change our beliefs, create systems, and then we get the results. What we do is we do it in the reverse. We try to change the results, and then we look for systems, and then we try to change the beliefs once we get the results. You'll learn in this book that that's not the most healthy way to get better results. Chapter number 3 is how to build better habits in 4 simple steps. Let's go to chapter 3. So Clear introduces 4 laws of behavior change: cue, craving, response, reward. Okay. So let's get into it. Come on, chapter 3. Come on, chapter 3. All right. So a couple of things before we get into that. Right. One of my favorite quotes in chapter 3 was, try, fail, learn, try differently. Habits are simply reliable solutions to recurring problems in our environment. This is how I've always done it, so I'm going to continue to do it this way. When you're not a person who looks for new ways to do something or more efficient ways to do something, it becomes a part of who you are. He told a story about a lady who cuts off her ham. She cuts off part of like the back and the front of her ham. And she was asked, why do you do that? She said, because my mom do it. And then they went to her mom and said, well, why do you do it? She said, because my mom did it. And so they went back as far as they could with the people that were living. And the reason why that the great grandmother cut off the front and the back of the ham is because during that time they didn't have a pan big enough to fit the whole entire ham. So they cut off the front and they cut off the back of it. And it was just a habit that she adopted, and she had no idea why she adopted this habit. But so they talk about the habit loop. So if you wanted to develop better habits, the cue, make it obvious. The craving, you want to make it attractive. The response, you want to make it easy. And the reward, you want to make it satisfying. Key takeaways in chapter number 3 are to build good habits, make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. And chapter number 4, they talk about the man who didn't look right. Awareness precedes change. You can't change what you don't notice, okay? Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will always direct your life, and you will call it fate. So in the book, one of the things that I loved about this chapter is to change the thing. Like it's like the first rule of change behavior is first admitting that there's a problem, right? The first rule to solving a problem is first admitting that you have a problem, okay? Does this behavior help me become the type of person that I want to be? Ask yourself that question when you're deciding on things in your life on a daily basis. Does this behavior help me become the type of person that I wish to be? If that behavior does not help you become the type of person that you wish to be, then you know you need to not do that behavior, do not engage in that behavior or change that behavior. Does this habit cast a vote for or against my desired identity? When I wake up in the morning at 4:40 to go to the gym at 5 a.m., there's always an internal battle with myself on whether or not I should sleep in or I should go to the gym. And it ultimately comes down to, am I doing what a healthy, active person would do? And when I can say to myself confidently, yes, I'm doing the things that a healthy, active person would do. I'm doing the things that a gym rat would do. All right, we're talking about changing our identity. I identify as a gym rat now. And so is this what a gym rat will do? A gym rat will get up and go to the gym. So I'm a gym rat now. Is this what a reader would do? You don't say, he talks about this, don't say I want to read more. Say I'm a reader. The goal isn't to read more books. The goal is to become a reader and then do what a reader does. This is one of the things that I do with my youth. I often challenge them and I say, who is it that you want to be? Well, I want to be a professional athlete. Okay. You need to start acting like a professional athlete now, because you don't become a professional when you become a professional. And too many of our youth want to be professionals, but they're working amateur hours. You got to become a professional right now so that when you ultimately become a professional, you have the habits of becoming a professional, because it doesn't take 21 days to build a habit. It takes years of practice, hours of time put in order to build a healthy habit. Okay, use a habit scoreboard. He has a habit tracker, which I think is a great tool for you to track your habits. So like if you're doing calorie counters, it's sort of the same thing. You want to track your habits. Use a habit scorecard to track and label your behaviors as positive, negative, or neutral. And the more you do that, the more you'll see that you are identifying with the habits that pull you towards becoming the person that you desire to be. Okay, chapter number 5, the best way to start a new habit. He gives you some, again, this is a more practical book. These are like my favorite books because they are more practical and not so much storytelling. If I'm reading somebody's autobiography or something like that, I want the information, and I'm actually reading this book right here, Limitless. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I want the information, but I don't need all of the stories. Like, y'all ever felt that way? Like, just give me the information. Like, you don't have to convince me that this information is valuable. I already believe that it's valuable. That's the reason why I bought the book. I already believe that it's valuable. And so I love that he goes through practical things. So during the next weeks, I will partake in at least 20 minutes of vigorous exercise on blank day at blank time in blank place. Okay, so the best way to start a new habit is to have an implementation strategy. So many of us say with the new year coming up, oh, I'm going to get into my New Year's resolutions and I'm going to go to the gym, but you never make a plan to go with the gym. This is what happens also in decision fatigue. You have so many decisions that you have to make that you don't do anything, and you don't do anything because you don't have a plan of action to do Anything. Get yourself a plan of action for the things that you say that you want, okay? But a specific plan of action. I'm going to record these videos on Friday, every first and third Friday, between 9:30 a.m. when I return from the gym and 1 p.m. in my basement. Now I'm more specific about what it is that I want to do, okay? So they talk about implementation intention, okay? When situation X arises, I will Y. All right. So I think in this case, and I haven't read this book in quite a while, but I still remember a lot of the different stories. But they talk about the being more intentional and specific about the habits. Okay. Many people think that they lack motivation when what they really lack is clarity. You don't lack motivation, you lack clarity. You have no idea when you're going to do the things that you say you're going to do, okay? Some people spend their entire lives waiting for the time to be right to make improvement. And what happens is that time is never right. The universe isn't going to move all obstacles out of your way, provide you with financial stability, give everybody in your family great health, and then say, okay, now you're in the perfect situation. That's not how it works. When you do something, a lot of times you have to start ugly and then it gets better. And then it gets better, all right? We often say yes to little requests because we're not clear enough about what we need to be doing instead. When your dreams are vague, it's too easy to rationalize little expectations all day long and never get around to the specific things you need to do to succeed. Good people, I need you to make an implementation plan for the goals that you have. Don't set a goal of, I want to make $100,000 and then break that goal down and say, yeah, it's $8,333.33 every single month. And then you break it down into weeks and then you break it down into days, but you never create an implementation plan. You never create an implementation plan on how you're going to get it done. So what he says is the key takeaways in here are pair your new habits with existing ones. After I blank current habit, I will blank new habit. So if you want to get into the habit of going to the gym, after I wake up, I will brush my teeth, wash my face, and after I do those things, I will go straight to the gym. All right, that's chapter number 5. Big chapter right there. Chapter number 6, motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more. Man, this was a huge chapter. There's so much I got on this chapter. Environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. How many of us find it difficult to stop eating snacks? We find it difficult to stop eating snacks. You know why? Because there's always snacks in the house. I tell people, if you know that you're bad at making decisions, certain decisions, if you know you're bad at making certain decisions, stop putting yourself in a position to have to make the decision. Like if you know you're going to cheat on your wife, if you know you're not good at being faithful to your partner, to your wife, stop going out where there are women who you are attracted to, where you know you're going to try to talk to these women, or stop going out by yourself. Don't put yourself in a position to have to make a decision if you know you're not good at making the decision. If you know them little Debbie's ho-hos be calling your name, why would you continue to buy them and keep them at the house? Oh, well, my kids love them. So what? You ain't getting no more ho-hos, no more cupcakes or nothing. You ain't getting no more chips. There's no more chips at the house. If they gonna be chips at the house, they gonna be they gonna be sun chips. And I don't even know if those are really good for you. They're gonna be veggie sticks. Stop putting yourself in positions to have to make decisions when you know you're not good at it. The human body has 11 million sensory receptors. About 10 million are dedicated to sight. Visual cues are the greatest catalyst of our behavior. Changes in what we see can lead to a shift in what we do. One of the things that I was taught to do if you want to be a gym person in the morning, you need to get your clothes ready the night before and put them out somewhere. So I have a sitting area in my room. So what I do is I take my clothes out the night before, one, because because my wife says everything is loud in the morning and you be opening drawers loud and putting your shorts on. How you put shorts on loud? How do I put shorts on loud? I don't know. I have no idea. But this is what she says. And so you don't you want to take your stuff out and put it there so that you can see it, right? You can see those things. Instead of seeing the snacky cakes and the chips and the cookies in your house, put some fruit there. There's another example that he gave. He said oftentimes when he buys healthy stuff, he puts it in a drawer underneath. And then what happens in a refrigerator? And then what happens is he goes into the refrigerator, he never sees the healthy stuff because it's in a drawer underneath because we don't really see it. Keep the healthy stuff out so that you can see it. You don't have to be a victim of your environment. You can be the architect of it. Ooh, he's in his bag right here. Most people live in a world that other people created for them. Be the designer of your world and not merely the consumer of it. If you want to build healthy habits, you have to design your life so that your environment is conducive to the type of person you desire to be. I've never seen someone stick with a positive habit in a negative environment. If you're in an environment of smokers all the time, even if you don't smoke, at some point, you're probably going to try a cigarette. Chapter number 7. All right. Key takeaways for this chapter. Chapter number 6. Key takeaways were design your environment and make good habits obvious and bad habits invisible. Stop buying snacks. All right. Chapter number 7, the secret to self-control. Okay. You don't need to be stronger. You need fewer temptations. Okay. Create a more disciplined environment. Bad habits are the catalysts. Bad habits are autocatalytic. The process feeds itself. Autocatalytic means the process feeds itself. Okay. They foster the feelings they try to numb. You feel bad, so you eat junk food. And because you eat junk food, you feel bad. How many of us are tired, so we don't go to the gym? And because we don't go to the gym, we're tired. And because we're tired, we don't drink any water. And because we don't drink any water, we're tired. Do y'all see how they are autocatalytic? Yes, you're tired. That's why you need to go to the gym. Yes, you're tired. That's why you need to drink more water. And because you don't drink any more water, that's why you're tired. It's literally, I think there was a picture of just like an ugly circle of bad behaviors, y'all. Bad behaviors. They feed themselves, right? They don't need anything to feed them. They feed themselves, okay? You feel bad, so you eat junk food. And because you eat junk food, you feel bad. I've never seen someone stick with a positive habit in a negative environment, okay? One way to eliminate a bad habit is to reduce the exposure to it. Key takeaways in chapter number 7 is the most disciplined people avoid situations that require discipline. All right, let's move on to chapter number 8. Chapter number 8 is how to make a new habit irresistible. Okay, habits form when they are linked to something that is pleasurable. There's a process that he puts in here called temptation bundling, and it essentially works by linking an action you want to do to an action that you need to do. I'll give you an example. I'm going to just keep talking about going to the gym because that's my biggest thing, right? I want to go to Starbucks and get my Trenta Dragon Fruit Refresher with lemonade light ice, please. But the only way I can get my Starbucks drink is if I go to the gym first. If I don't go to the gym, I have to go past the Starbucks. Don't get off on an exit. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200. So the only way I get from my house to the Starbucks is by going to the gym first. So I get from my house, then I go to the gym, then on the way home, I get Starbucks, then I come back home, I get my son and get myself ready, and then we go to the daycare. But again, I'm temptation bundling. I gotta have that Starbucks. But the only way I can get Starbucks, I told myself, is if I go to the gym. If I miss the gym, guess what? I miss Starbucks. So habits form when they're linked to something that is pleasurable. So now every single morning when I wake up, I say to myself, oh, I want Starbucks, but I gotta go to the gym. All right, let's go to the gym and let's get this done, right? So the key takeaway in chapter number 8 is use temptation bundling. Pair something that you need to do with something that you want to do. Chapter number 9, the role of family and friends in shaping your habits, okay? We imitate the habits of 3 groups: the close, the many, and the powerful, okay? We don't choose our habits initially. Our habits are intimate, okay? Probably the most powerful quote in the whole entire book. You need to join a culture where your desired behavior is the norm. Bum, 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 bum. Like put the bum, 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 bum sign right here and he's in his bag. Yes, put this moment right here because James Clear was definitely in his bag. Y'all, if I want to go to the gym, I got to join a culture and a community where going to the gym is something that they do on a regular basis. I mean, listen, get around your ratchet friends, the ones that smoke, drink, and party all the time, and see if you don't become a smoker, drinker, and a partier. That's like a person from New York that's got the New York accent. Yo, what's good, B? You know what I'm saying? What's good, B? And they go to Atlanta and they think that they're going to change the accent of the people in Atlanta to the New York accent. No, what's going to happen is the person with the New York accent is going to start to adopt the Southern accent because they're in an environment where this is the norm, okay? Your culture sets your expectation for what normal is. Surround yourself with people who have the habits that you want to have. I want to surround myself with the people who have the habit of reading, who have a habit of being faithful to their wives. And even if they mess up, that's okay. I'm not going to judge you, but at least you got to have a habit of getting better. I want to surround myself with people who have a habit of working out, who have a habit of reading, who have a habit of making mignon, coin, dinero, chicken, cheese, all of it. These are the people that I want to surround myself with, okay? We imitate the habits of these 3 people: the close, the many, and the powerful. Shared identity becomes your personal identity, okay? Remember I talked to y'all earlier about my 2 kids. One of them cleans after he does everything. The other one cleans only when she's told, because we're working on shaping her identity, okay? One chimp learned, okay, watch this. One chimp learned an effective way of cracking nuts, joined a new group with a less effective way, but conformed to the less effective way, but conform to the least effective way. We'd rather be wrong with the crowd than right alone. We would rather be wrong with the crowd than right alone. The reward of being accepted is often greater than the reward of winning an argument or looking smart. You would rather be dumb and with everybody else than smart and by yourself. Hey, Jesus. Key takeaway. This was the best chapter. The best chapter was chapter number 9. The best chapter was chapter number 9. I know I said it was chapter number 6, but I lied. It was chapter number 9. The key takeaway for chapter number 9 is join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal, okay? Chapter number 10, how to find and fix the causes of your bad behaviors, okay? Your current habits aren't necessarily the best way to solve the problems you face. They are just the methods that you have learned to use. Y'all, some of us got habits from our family that we know we need to change, okay? We need to change a lot of these habits that we learn from our family. And that's no fault of your own, because this is how you were taught to do it. This is how you were taught to tie your shoes. So you tie your shoes like this. And people ask, why do you tie your shoes like that? Because this is what you were taught, okay? Cravings drive behavior. If you can identify what you're craving, you can change the cue, okay? A craving is a desire to change your current state. The gap between your current state and your desired state provides a reason to act. Desire is the difference between where you are now and where you want to be in the future. We can find evidence for whatever mindset we choose. Listen, y'all, if you're looking for something, chances are you are going to find it. If you're looking for it, chances are you are going to find it, y'all. So if we want to change our current habits, our current cravings, okay, we have to we have to learn the fault in the current habits that we have and where those faults came from, okay? Key takeaway for chapter number 10 is reframe your current mindset. See the good habits as opportunities, not obligations. And we oftentimes see them as obligations, okay? Chapter number 11, walk slowly, but never backwards. All right. So in chapter number 7, motion feels like progress. Motion feels like progress, but isn't. Yikes. Motion feels like progress, but isn't. Action is what creates real change. There was a study that was done in this, and they talked about this photography class, and there were two groups. One group was the quantity group. The other group was the quality group. The quantity group was given the task of, all you got to do is take 100 pictures, and you will get an A for the class. The quality group, it was said to them, you have to take one perfect photo in order to get an A in the class. Which group got the A? The quantity group got the A. You know why? Because they experimented. They weren't afraid to take action. They honed their skills and they got better, and they saw progressively better photos as they got closer to the 100th photo. The quality group, they sat thinking about how to take the perfect shot so much that they never submitted anything because they didn't think it was perfect. There's a difference between action and activity, okay? The more you repeat an activity, the more the structure of your brain changes to become more efficient. So he talked about the word automaticity. I think that's right. The ability to perform a behavior without thinking about each step. You tie your shoes right now without thinking about it. You can tie your shoes and talk on the phone at the same exact time. That's one of the benefits of creating habits. And people think that creating habits will often make life boring, but it won't make life boring. It will actually allow you to do more. It'll actually allow you to multitask like you think. Okay. So key takeaway in chapter number 11 is don't get stuck preparing, planning, or researching. Just take the first small step immediately. All right. Let's go into chapter 12. Chapter 12 is law of least effort. Human behavior follows the path of least resistance. Our real motivation is to be lazy and do what is convenient. Business is a never-ending quest to deliver the same result in an easier fashion. The reason why I had a difficult time in the beginning of deciding whether or not I would go to the gym was because the easier result, the path of least resistance, was to stay in the bed and sleep. The difficult thing was to get up and actually go to the gym early in the morning, get this workout in, get this sweat in. And here's the most insane thing when I think about this. When I don't go to the gym, I feel terrible starting my day. When I go to the gym, I feel much better starting my day when I come back from the gym, not just because I got Starbucks, but because my energy has changed and it's shifted and my blood is flowing and I've got to sweat and I get to go and take a nice, cool shower. Y'all, avoid the path of least resistance, create the path of least resistance. Avoid taking the path of least resistance, but create the path of least resistance by creating better habits. One of the things that I had to adopt in myself was a philosophy called resetting the room. Resetting the room looks like, and tell me if y'all struggle with this too, and I'm not the only one. Please tell me I'm not the only one. That sometimes I can be a little messy. I can be a little dirty. I can, like, if the kitchen is clean, and I eat something and I'm too tired, I'm like, just leave that in there. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. No, reset the room. Resetting the room means getting the room back into the same condition that it was in prior to you going into that room. So if the kitchen is clean and you go into the kitchen and you decide to eat something, don't leave that bowl in the sink. I need you to reset the room. Reset it. Clean that bowl, clean that spoon or that fork, put it up, reset the room and get it back to where it was prior to you entering into that room, y'all. Reset the room. Key takeaways for this is make good habits easy and bad habits hard by reducing or increasing the friction, y'all. So reset the room. That's a philosophy that I teach my daughter. I'm teaching her right now. You got to reset the room, man. Chapter number 13, how to stop procrastinating by using the 2-minute rule. Habits are like the entrance ramp to a highway. You lead down a path and before you know it, you're speeding towards the next behavior. We are limited by where our habits lead us, okay? Start small. Starting small is the secret. Any habit can begin in 2 minutes or less, okay? This is a powerful strategy because once you started doing the right thing, it's much easier to continue to do the right thing. And consequently, this works in reverse as well. Once you started doing the wrong thing, it is easy to continue to do the wrong thing and then adopt the habit of this is who I am. The point is to master the habit of showing up. Listen, if you want to start going to the gym, just master the habit of actually going to the gym. You don't got to work out, but just master and create the habit of a person who goes to the gym regularly, or master the habit of a gym rat, okay? A habit must be established before it can be improved. Establish the habit of being a person who eats healthy. Establish the habit of a person who buys books. And then establish the habit of a person who is a reader. You have to standardize before you optimize. Take the smallest action that confirms the type of person that you want to be. It's better to do less than you hoped than to do nothing at all. Some of us are so defeated and we don't act because we don't want to grow in the public eye. We want to show up perfect already. That's the reason why I don't create videos. It's the reason why this is such a process for me, because I wanted to show up perfect. Like all of my mentors that I thought, they show up perfect, man. They just got this thing. My computer just went out. And I'm like, it's not perfect no more. No, just show up. It's okay to just show up. You don't gotta be perfect. It's not gonna be perfect, okay? So the takeaway for chapter number 13 is make it easy so you can't say no. Chapter number 14, how to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. Let's get into it. Commitment devices lock in future behaviors, okay? Commitment devices lock in future behaviors, all right? The best way to create these good habits that we desire is essentially to automate these habits. You want to automate a lot of the things that you do, so you have no choice but to act in this way. So like meal prepping, like, so you want to eat good for the whole week, but you have to have a device lock-in. See, if the food isn't cooked already, you're going to take the route of least resistance. But if the food is already cooked, you're already committed to it. So the device is already locked in. So the key takeaways for chapter number 14 is automate good habits like an automatic savings or meal prep so they require less willpower. Because again, you don't trust you. So don't put yourself in a position to have to make a decision that you know you're not going to make. Chapter number 15, the cardinal rule of behavior change. What is rewarded is repeated. What is punished is avoided. The problem wasn't knowledge, it was consistency. What is rewarded is repeated. What is punished is avoided. The consequences of bad habits are often delayed while the rewards are immediate, okay? The rewards of bad habits, the rewards of them snacky cakes and them ho-hos and them cream pies and them cookies. I feel good, I'm satisfied. Oh my gosh. The reward is immediate, but the consequences is diabetes, high blood pressure, overweight, heart failure, type 1 diabetes. Like the reward is immediate. The consequences are delayed, while good habits happen in the reverse. Good habits, immediate outcomes, they're not always enjoyable, but the ultimate outcome feels great. During it, when I'm lifting weights, oh my gosh, this is so boring, bro. What the heck? Oh my gosh, I gotta do these sit-ups. Jesus Christ, bro. It's painful going through it, but the rewards come summer 2026. Yeah, let's go. Getting some more tattoos. The cost of your good habits are in the present. The cost of your bad habits are in your future. The last mile is always the least crowded. This is when he talked about running a marathon. And oftentimes in running a marathon, the last mile is always the least crowded. You ever notice that when people start a marathon, you see hundreds of people lined up right there. But by the time the last mile happens, it's always the least crowded. You see 1 or 2 or 3 people, pushing for who's going to come in first, second, and third, and so on and so forth, right? This is the sort of like going back a little bit where we'd rather be wrong with the crowd than right alone. So like we'd rather go this way with everybody else, even though we know this isn't the way that we're supposed to go. We don't want to go the right way. So listen, y'all, the last mile of anything that you're doing, there's a bunch of comedians, but there's only a few great, phenomenal comedians, because the last mile is always the least crowded. A lot of people didn't do the work or, didn't study and do the work where, they could become a great, phenomenal comedian, right? So the last mile is always the least crowded. Success requires you to ignore an immediate reward in favor of a delayed reward. Success happens in the crock pot, not in the microwave. Let's go to, so the key takeaways was use immediate rewards to reinforce your good habits. Basically what that means is take your good habits and reward yourself for the good things that are happening and celebrate those good things. A lot of times we don't celebrate the small things that are happening to us so that it would encourage us to continue to do those small things. I tell people, don't just count the dollars in your life, also count the change, because if you count enough change, eventually it will add up to a couple of dollars. All right, chapter number 16, how to stick with good habits every single day. There was a story about a guy who needed to make 120 phone calls, sales calls in a day. And so what he did was he took 120 paper clips, and every time he made a call, he would take it from one jar, he would put it in the other jar. What he did was he used a visual habit tracking system as evidence of progress. So the more he got down, the more he saw the jar on the left become empty, the more he knew he was actually doing something, okay? The most effective form of motivation is progress. Think about it, y'all. We feel so much better after we accomplish something. We feel encouraged. We feel inspired. The first mistake is never the one that ruins you. It's the spiral of mistakes that follows that ruins you, y'all. The worst thing that you can do when you find yourself in a hole is keep digging. And that's what a lot of times, what a lot of us do, man. We keep digging. And I want to encourage you to stop digging in the hole. Put the shovel down, okay? Use habit tracking systems, something that shows evidence of your progress, okay? If you're going to the gym, use photos to take pictures of your 30-day progress, your 60-day progress, your 90-day, your 180-day. Use photos to track that progress so that you can actually see, this actually does work. And know, the key to this though is to know how long it actually takes to make that progress. All right. So key takeaways is don't break the chain. Even small consistency counts. All right. Chapter number 17, how an accountability partner can change everything. Social pressure keeps you consistent, okay? The more immediate the pain, the less likely the behavior is two big things that I took from this, okay? Social pressures, again, remember, in chapter number 9, they talked about go find yourself in a culture where the desired behavior is already who they are, right? The desired behavior. Dang it, what was it? Because I want to get it right for y'all. Go to find a culture where the desired behavior is the norm. That's right. Yes, find a culture where the desired behavior is normal behavior. All right. And then the last thing that they talk about in this chapter is finding yourself an accountability partner, man. Success is oftentimes lonely and it's very difficult to do it by yourself. But when you're doing it with someone that is also doing it with you, it makes it much easier to continue and to keep that thing up, because there are moments where you don't feel inspired and maybe the other person feels inspired, or there are moments where you all both may not be inspired, but that's okay because you all can talk to each other and say, hey, this is what we committed to. And so you all are holding each other to that commitment. Okay. The key takeaways for this is pair it with someone who will hold you accountable for your habits. Chapter number 18, the truth about talent. When genes matter and when they don't. Genes determine potential. Habit determines performance. Okay. Now listen, if you want to be tall, you can't just be tall on, you can't just be tall without having the genes of being tall, okay? Takeaways in chapter number 19. Just manageable above difficulty. I went to a tutoring program. I went to a tutoring program and we were talking to the gentleman about my daughter and the grade level that she's on and where she needs to be. He said, we want to start her on the grade level that she's on, because if we started her any higher, she would not do well, and then she will begin to lose confidence. So when you're trying to do something new, you want that habit to be just above difficulty. You don't want it to be so hard to where you end up quitting and you end up giving up because it was too difficult. You want it to be just above manageable difficulty. Human experience peak motivation when working on tasks. Humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are on the edge of their current abilities. Okay. Another big moment in the book was fall in love with boredom. I think he talked about Michael Jordan, talked about Kobe Bryant, and they talked about how successful people have learned how to continue to do the things they're supposed to do, even when they're bored and even when they don't feel like it. And life, if you want to live the life that you desire to live, you got to do the things you may not want to do sometimes. Okay. So fall in love with boredom. Really successful people feel the same kind of lack of motivation as everyone else. They're not so different than everybody else. Like, man, they always have energy. No, they feel bored. They feel uninspired. The difference is they actually push through those moments and don't allow those moments to control them. The difference is that they still find a way to show up every single day. You got to find a way to show up in feelings of boredom. Okay. Key takeaways in this chapter are: choose habits that align with your natural strength for sustainable success and fall in love with boredom. It is okay to be bored, and it is a natural part of growth and development is being bored. Okay. Chapter number 19, the Goldilocks rule, how to stay motivated in life and in work. We stay motivated when we're working on tasks that are not too hard, but that are not too easy, but that are just right. Okay. Oh, dang, that was chapter number 19. Oh, did I missed chapter number 18? It's okay. All right. So we listen. And chapter number 18 talked about genes determine potential. Okay. Habits determine performance. So you can have good genes, but your habits are ultimately going to determine how well you do in that thing. So you can be tall, but just because you're tall doesn't mean that you're going to make it into the NBA. You're just going to be the tallest guy in human resources. That's all. Okay. Staying motivated when working on tasks that are not hard is too easy. They're just right. Okay. So that was chapter number 19. Last but not least, the downside of creating good habits is chapter number 20. Habits can make you complacent if you stop improving. Habits plus deliberate practice equals mastery. Mastery is the process of narrowing your focus to tiny elements of success, repeating it until you've internalized the skill, then using this new habit as the foundation to advance to the next frontier of your development. So once you get good at something, Steph Curry got good at shooting 3-pointers. Steph Curry got so good at shooting 3-pointers that he had to start backing up to challenge himself. But he didn't back up all the way to half court, right? He started shooting 26-footers, and then 27, and then 28, and then 29, and then 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. He started backing up more and more and more and more and more. And now we start seeing all of these crazy, ridiculous shots that he does at the beginning of games because he's challenging himself. You got to learn, you got to master a skill and then improve your level of mastery on that skill. Okay. What went well this year? What didn't go well this year? What did I learn? We're coming to the end of the year. Okay. So you want to start asking yourself some questions. What went well this year? What didn't go well this year? And then what did I learn? What are the core values that drive my life? How am I living and working with integrity right now? And how can I set a higher standard for my future? Key takeaways in chapter number 20 is review and refine. Mastery requires continuous reflection and small adjustments. Man, this book is a 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. Go and grab this book. James Clear doesn't just teach you habit formation. He actually gives you a blueprint for behavioral transformation. If you ever struggle to stay consistent, and remember, the only secret to life is consistency. Atomic Habits will show you how to build better systems, reshape your identity, and turn tiny changes into lasting success. I'm your favorite cousin Backpack. This has been another In My Bag book review, and I believe that this is definitely the book for you. I'm gonna see y'all at the family reunion. Peace.